6 months ago, when I finished the Rotten Blood quest guide, I promised I will make this video, going through some clips caught from our Bakragore runs, especially the first ones, and breaking down the mistakes, so perhaps this can help cover things I missed on my guide. With that said, let's begin. EK shouldn't be the one to go for the blowjob on the RP, unless the timing is perfect, which happens rarely. Instead, it should be up to the MS to grab aggro of Bakragore and RP brings the blowjob. Here you can see how the MS blocks Bakragore path and takes aggro, and RP lures down the blowjob. This is quite common to happen at the start of the fight if the blowjobs respawn with the boss, and sometimes it can backfire and create more of a mess, but regardless, it's still the correct play. Bakragore is more likely to retarget than blowjobs and is more predictable damage through avoiding beams and pillars, instead of blowjobs rooting you in bad places. This shows the importance of refreshing your SSA before taking diagonals, and using pillars spawning as an indicator to refresh your SSA, since they tend to take multiple charges at once when respawn. Here it was even worse, since he willingly moves into the beam, but in general there is always a chance of paralysis before you diag, and then you won't be able to swap next during that brief moment. EK needs to avoid stepping on these corners where you can get fully trapped, and if it happens, depending on the time, it can still be recovered by having the shooter and the second ED come in range of the swaps, and that way he gets out, like this. Be mindful that when the teleport appears in the middle, the damage hit won't happen until 15 seconds. So even if you get rooted as it spawns, you can still bring them on time and grab the boss. But failing to lure a blowjob in the 15 seconds results in everyone taking 80% max HP agony hit, which is likely death. Recently, my second druid made the big IQ play of getting the swap of the blowjob and then luring it to the TP himself. But speaking of agony, it's also very important to be on top of your charges and have them low at all times, or else when you get trapped or rooted, if you hit 20 charges, then the damage becomes too high to recover. So don't stand still to wait for anything, because you will be getting charges and all it takes is one root to put you at 20 and keep you there. Also, when tanking the boss, don't keep it near the middle. Always lure it to the north and to the sides. If you tank it near the middle and the pillars of mushrooms spawn there, then by the time you get the blowjobs, you might get hit by them. Otherwise, you are more likely to have the boss close to the shooters by doing this. Also, do not stand still next to a pillar. That will refresh the chain attack on every attack turn, potentially hitting more people and refreshing their charges. On this clip, I was not only hitting the RP with the chain, but by not having a way to keep the track of the 20-second timer, we passed the boss too early, and that's almost always a headshot on the RPs. Additionally, this helps when passing the boss back to the RP. EK will have time to go for the blowjobs, and the RP shouldn't be on the screen right away. Whenever the passing of Bakragore is coming, take a moment to pay attention to the room. Notice where the mushrooms and pillars are and try to avoid them. It should be a quick scan, less than a second, but it will save your life from going in blindly and walking into them or a beam from the boss. This can happen both ways. Here, because I forced the passing on the right, where we almost always do it, I end up walking into the mushrooms and a beam. This was easily avoidable by doing the passing on the left and calling it in advance. Here, because I kept getting hit by the boss AoE, I was too scared to go in and grab it due to being low HP. However, as long as I don't walk into the beam or into the mushrooms and pillars, the damage is manageable even at low HP. But instead, by delaying taking the boss, the RP ended up taking the first agony hit for 40% of his HP. If you pass the boss in the middle, chances of the first blowjob going for the RP are quite high. And this shows the importance of as the RP making sure to block the pathing of Bakragore on the passing, even if it feels scary due to potential beams, but also shows the problem with passing in the middle. Swaps are very constant and seemingly have no cooldown, so the same blowjob can swap multiple times to different players. For this reason, it's not only important to stay away from the EK as much as possible, but when bringing a blowjob to him, try to do it on the southern side of the room and then quickly leave before another teleports. If you do this near the middle or other players, it only continues to create more opportunities to swap. On this clip, I was failing to rest all the blowjobs and continue to lose some due to retargets or swaps. My general rule of thumb is to XRS often, but especially when rooted or when they swap. Also, walking too far north only gives opportunities to blowjob to teleport. But more importantly, the mistake here is not putting a new necklace quickly. Nowadays, with the greater garlic necklaces, this has become easier, but you must still pay attention to it and put a new one as soon as it ends. and never change it to SSA when you have multiple blowjobs on you. Their damage is mainly life drain and SSA doesn't help much. Preventive foods can turn into a mistake on your first runs. It's something I recommend to save when you feel it's absolutely necessary, and save the preventive uses for later when you are more experienced in these situations. As EK, I highly recommend to pay attention to the message of swaps. Keeping track of that blowjob gives you an idea it might go for someone else and gives you time to call in advance, but also where it might take you to. If you move aimlessly, in very unfortunate scenarios, you can walk out of the teleport like this. Only at the start of the fight, I try to rest the blowjobs away of the RP, if they happen on the respawn with the boss. This is due to the room already being a mess, and if I get lucky I might save it. However, here I make the mistake of getting greedy and going for the 4th blowjob instead of settling with the 3 I got on the south and let them bring the last one to me. This clip not only shows how bad of a spell Accelerate is, but also how bad blowjobs can reset their aggro and make a mess on top of swaps, and why it can be worse if the EK is the one that tries to fix it. You also cannot be too far south when blowjobs are spawning. If you are not close enough as the EK, take an aggro someone else right away. But despite everything and the potential deaths on the attempts, in the end, hard content is worth doing. I didn't get it.
Careful with it, careful.
Jesus Christ.
Kill the boss. Yes!
Oh, yeah!
Yes!
Fuck yeah, boys. Fuck yeah, boys.
Oh, I'm fucking sweating. Oh my god.
Real easy.
Thank you for watching, and hopefully my guys helped some of you when trying this hard challenge.